Bond?
Yes?
I'm Lieutenant Mathis of the Special Police. These are my credentials.
They appear to be in order.
Well, here we are. It's June. Yeah, that's right. It's June. You know what that means? It's the beginning of Mad Men with the Show Summer Edition. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. We're beginning our summer shows. There's going to be a little bit more content than normally for our summer editions on here, even through June, July, and August. As we're making our way back, as you can see, we are fully back this week, as we promised. Basically, you know, it was a difficult time. You know, we needed time to heal and rebuild. And we took that time. We're still healing just a bit more on there. We really do appreciate you out there staying with us. It's very important on there. You know, keep it up. You know, comment, like, share, and subscribe. You know, we really do appreciate that. We promise to bring you some really great content out there. Also, we'll be making appearances on other content creator shows. Sci-Fi Snob right now, we're doing some appearances. In fact, this week we're going to be on the Babylon 5 season finale. Chrysalis, we'll be discussing that. I'll be on the panel on there, so do check it out Wednesday. We'll leave the link below. But, you know, normally, we start this out straight out with this one today. When it comes to streaming, broadcast television, with the exception of the summer movies, but summer movies hasn't been like it used to be in the theatrical. Normally, everything else tends to lax back just a bit. I mean, still there are releases on streaming. There's some good shows on broadcast television. Same thing on streaming, but it's not that potential. But this month, I think we got a couple of things that is important that you should know that's out there. And you've clicked on this, you already know part of it. And, we're going to start off with this. Now, Netflix has been ramping up a lot of their content. I mean, they've been buying a lot of anime. They just bought the rights to the new season for Sesame Street, which we should be seeing toward the end. I think it's toward the end of the year, because they're finishing off over at Max, the season over at Max. Go through the summer, and then we'll get the new season afterwards. But one thing I like is classic films, and I'm going to tell you straight out, I love the class. I've been watching Universal Monsters lately. I just saw the other night Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, which it's a rarely shown. Rarely shown. In fact, Bela Lugosi plays Frankenstein. Yeah, get that one. It's Lon Chaney returns as the Wolfman, the old gypsy woman, and all that. It's a good plot on there. It ends abruptly, but it's well worth the watch on that one. I just watched it the other night because it's on Roku, on the Roku Live Fast channels. They have a Universal Monsters channel. They show a lot of great horror stuff from the 30s, the 40s, 50s, straight on through to the 80s. In fact, the other night they were showing The Car and The Funhouse. If you haven't seen those two movies, do recommend them. Even though it's crazy as The Funhouse is, the novels are better. But I'm getting ahead of myself here on some things. With classic films, there are some great directors. One of the great directors out there, is, of course, obviously, is Alfred Hitchcock. I loved his films. He had many. Rear Window is one of my favorites. Same thing with The Birds and Psycho. Some great on there. And there's some, some ones that you don't hear too much about. Lifeboat and Saboteur, which are also fantastic movies. But it seems like Netflix has made a deal to bring some of the collection to you streaming-wise.
Agnew, give it your stamp of approval.
which that's a good deal. That is a real good deal in itself. So according to MovieWeb, and of course actually directly from Netflix itself, it seems, if you haven't noticed yet, if you haven't clicked on over on your Netflix, it's already started on June 1st. Basically, there are several movies, and this is just only a start of stuff on there. Psycho should be still already available on Netflix. It was available prior to this. But guess what? You get to see some really good stuff. Vertigo, which is another great film on there. Rear Window. Frenzy. Oh, God. If you haven't seen Frenzy...
How'd you like my tie? How do you like it?
My God. The tie.
That is, Jesus. I mean, some people call it controversial because it's really insane, an insane movie on itself. But it's not the greatest of the Hitchcocks, but it's well worth the watch. The Man Who Knew Too Much, obviously, that's a great one. Family Plot of the latter ones, that's one of the best of the latter of the Hitchcock films. And obviously, The Birds are going to be available on Netflix. You should be seeing it already on your queue line. The thing about Hitchcock, his films, when it comes down to it, even Alfred Hitchcock Presents, it basically, they're well done. I mean, this is stuff they should be still teaching in film school. Because you could go on and say Brian De Palma and a lot of other directors, James Cameron, Christopher Nolan, Ridley Scott, Kubrick, Tarantino, Coppola. You could go, Cameron. You could go through all these directors, but when you look to the perspective and you talk to a lot of these directors, and they said some of their movies based on works of like Hitchcock itself, and many other the older directors out there. Some of these directors will tell you back, not only Hitchcock, John Huston, Howard Hanks, John Ford, Akira Kurosawa, Fritz Lang. You can go through a whole mess of directors from the past, and a lot of them inspired the directors of the present. When it came, and the thing is with Hitchcock, there is one. I'm trying to remember the name of the documentary. There is a great documentary out there. In fact, Universal Studios Florida, when they used to have the Hitchcock Experience, used to show segments of that documentary. And there's one segment in there that's really important, and he explains on how to shock an audience. And the way it goes is Hitchcock says, you and me are sitting in a room, and I start to talk baseball for a couple of minutes. Suddenly, a bomb goes off, killing both of us, and everybody gets a couple of seconds shock that this happened. Take that example once again. Two men sitting in a room, and we're going to start. But before we start talking about baseball, I explained to the audience below me that there is a bomb, about to go off in a couple of minutes. So we start to talk about baseball. What do you think the audience is saying to the screen right now? What are you talking about baseball? No. Get rid of the bomb. Do something about that. And that's the thing, is giving things away when it comes to film. With Hitchcock, the master himself, he doesn't give things away. There are directors today that they make some of that mistakes. You give too much in the trailer, or a particular scene is shot a certain way that basically will give away too much. Perfect example is when I was in trade school for broadcasting, I had a teacher who was worked with Paramount Pictures at the time that he was on the. He was supposed to be there as an observer for the company within the making of Friday the 13th at that time period. And there is a scene, he says, that they took the shot, and it's the final girl, obviously, and she's walking across the cabin. And what happens is the scene is supposed to be that a body's supposed to come flying through the window. Now, you look at that scene, and the camera is panned a little, from the viewer's point of view, it's panned a little bit to the left. In other words, it's practically facing the window, and you're going to see the body come through right before. I mean, for some people, it did shock them. For other people, it's like, hey, look, there's a body coming through the window. But see, that some things that, obviously you give away to a point. And Hitchcock doesn't like to do that. He doesn't want to give away. He puts everything into the perspective. He'll give you the detail. He'll give you the story. I mean, like Rear Window, every window that Jimmy Stewart is looking at has a story within itself. Now, is that all part of the story? And you just got to watch and see. And that's the best thing onto there. And if you haven't seen, you've known that basically, and this has been repeated. It has been repeated in many other films. There have been remakes of Rear Window, stuff like that, and they haven't done it. Same thing with Psycho. They try to do a shot-for-shot color version of Psycho, which here's the argument I have. Why would you do it in color? See that's the thing about it. And Hitchcock, if he was alive today, he would probably say the same thing. Why would you do something like this in color? Black and white would be the best thing. Because basically, like, for example, like the shower scene with the blood, and that wasn't even blood. That was like, I think syrup. They said chocolate syrup or something to that nature. The way it washed away and the way it rolled down. You couldn't tell that was red. But they get put in your mind that it is. This is the perspective, and you have the perspective of, mother, rocking in there, and that shock at the end that basically she hasn't been alive all this time. That's basically Norman. Sorry if I ruined it for anyone who hasn't seen it. But, you know where I'm coming from on this. You can't give away everything. And that's the major problem in the industry now, is that they give too much away in the trailers. They probably give away almost the whole movie itself. Go back and see the trailer for Psycho. See how he does, where he's explaining things that are happening, that, someone was murdered here, this and that, and he goes through it. And it's really done very well. That's a trailer in itself, where he's walking around talking about it. That's a great trailer. And his point of views and aspects, the birds, those point of view camera shots from the birds, also very, very good. So we could sit here and do a whole show on Hitchcock, and we'll probably do maybe one of these days. I probably maybe have talked to Sci-Fi Snob. Maybe we can do like a show on his end with Hitchcock or something to that nature. But do check it out right now. Netflix, Alfred Hitchcock, a couple of movies on there, and I think they are going to be adding more down the line later on. I don't know if later on in June or maybe somewhere late in the summer. But let's continue on here. Now, here's the other half of what's big this month. For those of you who basically buys physical media, there is a box set. I don't know if it's going to be good or if it's going to be bad. This is something that's going to be released on June 10th, but I'm in agreement that this is how it should be done on this particular character. Now, we know James Bond, some great movies on there. I'm not into the entire series itself. There are some movies that are great within the Sean Connery collection and the Roger Moore and Dalton, straight on and on, so on and so on. Would I buy a box set of the entire James Bond collection from beginning to end? No, I wouldn't. I want to pick and choose on there. But the one thing that's important is the first 6 films, which is the iconic Sean Connery stuff. And no, Never Say Never Again should not be part of this. Because I know someone in the comments line says, oh no, it's just missing Never Say Never Again. Number one, it's a remake of Thunderball. If you want to buy it separately, fine, buy it separately. It's probably cheap now on there. I have to look it up. But what they're releasing now, and there's 2 big releases on that this month. They're releasing a Sean Connery 6-film collection of 007 James Bond. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, if you go over to Amazon, current price, it's released on June 10th. Its current price is $100, which is not bad for 6 movies. And what you're getting is obviously Dr. No, From Russia with Love, which is of all my favorites, From Russia with Love is one of my top favorite James Bond films. Why? It's straight on James Bond, on there. No gimmicky gadgets in this series. It is just literally brute strength of being a spy. And that's why I always love that. Obviously, Goldfinger, Thunderball, which, like I said, never say never again, Thunderball. You Only Live Twice, which is another one of my favorites on there. And Diamonds Are Forever. Now, for me, this is a box set I would go out and get. I hope it's in good quality. It is a 4K Ultra HD remaster. How good is the remaster? I don't know on that perspective. I haven't heard anything about this on there. But this is some of the best of James Bond. Now, obviously, I'll go out and get On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which is one of the most underrated films in the Bond listing, because it's a very, even though it's Lazenby, some people say, I don't really like Lazenby. It is an important story, because that story does pick up in a couple of the other Bond movies itself, concerning about Bond's wife, who's played by Diana Rigg in On Her Majesty's Secret Service. And then, of course, obviously, I would get Live and Let Die, which is another one of my favorites, which is of the Roger Moore era. Octopussy is so-so on that. Moonraker, another good one on there. Spy Who Loved Me. I think everything from above, when you hit those couple on there, when you go beyond that, it gets a little, sketchy. Especially when you get into Timothy Dalton. There's some in there, like 1 or 2 that are okay. Pierce Brosnan, same thing on there. One of the new era, the only one that I like is Casino Royale. And obviously, I like the original Casino Royale. If you haven't seen the original Casino Royale with David Niven, such a fun romp comedy. If you haven't catched that yet, I think it's still on Tubi. You can catch it free on Tubi TV. It is so much fun, because you have Peter Sellers and David Niven, Woody Allen. I mean, it is a great cast. I mean, and all the surprise Easter eggs in that movie. I mean, it's well worth the watch. It's fun, well worth the watch on itself. Now, bringing up that the James Bond collection is out, there is another part of this story which is also just as important. And for those of you who enjoy, like I do, the score from the movie, the motion picture scores, the songs, and of course in the iconic James Bond universe, it is the opening songs that you get on there, especially, from some artists, for example, like Shirley Bassey, which basically, speaking of her in this, there is a company out there called La La Land Records, and they're known for bringing out soundtracks for some of the classic movies out there, and they've just gotten the rights to the James Bond movies. And basically, for those of you who love vinyl, they are releasing a vinyl set of John Barry's score to the Goldfinger movie. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, on there. If you haven't seen it yet, it's June 1st already. So it's already, if you're watching this first week of June, it is already available. Now, this is available directly from La La Land, their website, lalalandrecords.com. Now, understand, they already have a 60th anniversary album out there. Supposedly the pre-orders, I couldn't click on the pre-orders on there, so it's not listed. It might be, or it could be sold out. It may not be. Do check it. Last I saw that, nothing has been said of that nature. I don't see it on Amazon. It is going for because it's limited edition. It's priced at $34.98. It'll be issued in 2 vinyl colorways, a 4-Knox Bullion edition, which is limited to 700 units, and a body paint gold limited edition of 300. Now, if you're not familiar with them, they have put out album labels from the soundtracks of Friday the 13th, Star Trek, the original series, Lethal Weapon, Planet of the Apes, and many others. So do check them out. I mean, this is really if you can get this before it runs out, do grab it. That it's really, this is one to go into your collection if you can get a hold of this, because like I said, it's a limited edition. It is, the album itself, looking at it, it's gold. The album is gold. It's like a shade of gold on there. I guess it has some pictures from the movie and stuff like that. And supposedly the version that this is, the tracks, some of it wasn't released on the original soundtrack. So you're getting parts of the score that you did not get on the that was in the movie, but was not available on the original soundtrack. So that makes it sort of important to get on there. One thing, and I said this before, vinyl has made its way back. Physical media is very important right now, more than ever, especially what's been going on with the censorship rules. They're trying to, what happened in Texas, with Texas SB 20. They're trying to ban things out there. Let's go out and let's show them that we want this stuff. That physical media is very important out there. So comment. Let me know your thoughts about all of this that we discussed today. Alfred Hitchcock going on Netflix. The Sean Connery 007 box edition. And, of course, the original soundtrack to Goldfinger. The gold edition on there. So let me know in the comments. Don't forget to share this video. Hit the like. And, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Very important. Of all the thousands of videos that you've chosen, you chose our video here. We really do appreciate that. Do stay with us. We have a lot coming this week. So check us out here on Cuticast TV, Man with the Show, and the return of Otaku Thursday, every Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern, here on YouTube and on Rumble.